Like to call to order. This is a regular city council meeting of the city of Ocean Shores. It is December 10th, 2024, and the time is 6 p.m. The meeting is being held at the Ocean Shores Convention Center. The meetings are simulcast and archived on KOSW Radio. Meetings are live streamed with closed captioning and may be accessed on the city website under council recordings. The meetings can be viewed on cable channel 68, Thursdays at 12 p.m. and Sundays at 10 a.m. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sires.
Here.
Councilmember Taylor.
Here.
Councilmember Griebel.
Here.
Councilmember Klein.
Here.
Councilmember Scott.
Here.
Councilmember Wills.
Here.
Councilmember Hartman.
Here. All right. Lisa Griebel, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Can we have approval of the meeting agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to move item 11 to item 4.
Second.
All right. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you.
And then I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting agenda as amended.
Second.
All right. We have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. We have under ceremonies and proclamations, City of Ocean Shores Municipal New Court Judge will be introduced by our city administrator.
Thank you. And our judge is here, and he'll be taking the oath of office in a moment. But before, I just want to remind everyone how lucky and thankful we are to have him. He comes with a wealth of experience. We were very, very close to losing our court. We had put out our RFQs or RFPs for judges, and we didn't really have any real feedback after pushing that out. We then talked about merging with the county, and the county had no funds and no ability to do that. And so we went out again, and through the diligence of our court clerk here, Kim Ward and myself, we were able to do another round of interviews, and we received 3 applications. We've selected Judge Tashner as our new judge, who is replacing Judge Scott Sage, who has been here for a number of years. So I think we're all looking forward to some of the changes that are going to be brought into the court, some of the new kind of technologies that we're going to be using. And so far, it's been a really positive experience. So with that, I'll turn it over to the city clerk to administer the oath of office.
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Washington, and will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Judge of the Municipal Court of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, according to the best of my abilities. And I do further certify
That I do not advocate,
nor
nor am I a member of,
an
organization that advocates
organization that advocates
the overthrow of the government
the overthrow of the government
of the United States
of the United States
by force or violence.
by force or violence.
Thank you for being the judge. We'd like to call you.
All right, next we have the Ocean Shores Fire Department Airplane Rescue Recognition, and that's presented by our Fire Chief Brian Ritter. Right here.
Council, Mayor, members of the public, family and friends of the fire department, and the Aberdeen Police Department's here to support one of their own. On June 8th, around 4 p.m., a single-engine aircraft went down in the marshland approximately 200 yards off the runway at the airport, leaving a man and woman critically injured, and by all accounts, in looking at the wreckage, this had high potential to be a fatality. But due to the actions of all involved, both patients survived. This is a testament to the dedication, skill, and bravery that was exhibited on this day. Our responders were forced to walk through mud and crevices, and they were also in an extremely dangerous situation waiting in the fuel of the aircraft. Extensive efforts were made to remove the victims, requiring the use of saws and heavy extrication equipment, putting them at greater risk. One victim was pinned by the wing of the aircraft, and it took just the right cuts at just the right moments to clear her. During this event, simultaneously, a CPR in progress call went out on Duck Lake Drive. More resources had to be requested. Responders from District 7 showed up to aid in that response. And some responders even had to go from the crash to the CPR call. Unfortunately, the CPR victim did not survive. However, they were tended to immediately by the Ocean Shores Police Department. The Ocean Shores Police Department were also pivotal in the roles that were played on the scene of the plane crash as well. So we are here to recognize members involved for their efforts and selfless acts on this day to save lives. Do you have the picture of the crash? So when you look at the wreckage of this airplane, I wasn't in town. I was moving my folks from Arizona to get them back to home, and I saw the call go out, and I called my assistant chief, who happened to be the Port of Seattle fire chief for years, so he managed the airport. And as I'm talking to him, I'm asking him about the fuel shutoff, and he got really quiet because the engine of the aircraft is here, completely ripped out of the airplane. It's my job as the fire chief, whenever we have a big event, to call Scott and call the mayor and let him know what's happening. We were tapped on resources, and the mayor and Scott asked if there's anything they could do to help. And I said, I can't believe I'm saying this. I can't believe I'm saying this because this is crazy, but yeah, and do as you're directed, but you're risking your life. You're risking death doing this, literally. So everybody in there put themselves in harm's way. I know that's our job, but we have a saying that we risk a lot to save a lot. That was the third plane crash in a week in Washington State. I believe the other two plane crashes were fatalities, one in Auburn and one off the coast of Orcas Island. Both of those did not survive. The victims here did have critical injuries, but they're alive today due to the efforts of the Ocean Shores Fire Department, the Ocean Shores Police Department, and all the other agencies involved in assisting us in that rescue. So I'm awarding some medals of valor and medals of merit tonight to recognize the heroism and bravery of those that went above and beyond the call of duty at the risk of their own personal harm. That is the definition of valor.
Lieutenant Cody Sage. Firefighter Medic Matthew Reitmeyer. Firefighter Medic Caleb Towery. Firefighter EMT George Foster. Firefighter EMT Randall Sackman. Firefighter EMT Tommy Wallace. Firefighter EMT Jameson Burney. Lieutenant Jeremy Towery. Firefighter EMT Andrew Mills.
Oh, Tommy. Breaks my heart. Mr. Wallace here, he has a chance. He went to the dark side and went to the Aberdeen Police Department, but he was with us for a minute. We're going to put this in his personnel file just in case, guys, just in case. You guys can go ahead and stay up here. Your medals are on their way, but you will be getting a Medal of Valor, and I can't, as fire chief, I can't tell you how proud I am of how you guys performed. You saved 2 lives that absolutely, I believe, would have been fatalities. I know they had critical injuries, but they're alive today to enjoy another Christmas, another birthday with their loved ones because of the effort and energy you guys displayed that day, saving their lives, literally. So thank you and great job. Oh, they will? Okay, come on. Fire District 7. Can you guys come up? So during the plane crash, we called for mutual aid from Fire District 7. Go ahead, stand in line. They showed up for the CPR call to assist us as they do when we need mutual aid. We ask for each other a lot, and on that day, you know, we needed to pull together, and that's what we did. Some of these members also went from the plane crash to the CPR call. So I'm giving them a Medal of Merit for that action as well. For outstanding performance under hazardous conditions or for making significant contributions to the fire service. All these members you see up here are basically the Swiss Army knives of life safety. They do anything from EMS to fire to rescue to all of the above. Firefighter medic Matthew Reitmeyer. Firefighter medic Caleb Towery. Firefighter EMT George Foster. Firefighter EMT Logan Segan. Get up here, dude. If only I could grow a mustache like that, buddy. Fire Inspector Kurt Bagley's on vacation today. Firefighter Jeff Rawlings. And his son, Firefighter Matthew Rawlings. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Last but not least, I have a Civilian Citation Award. If the mayor and Scott Anderson could come up here, please. This situation was completely out of left field, unexpected, unpredicted, high risk. We don't get these a lot. In the 20 years I've been here, there's been 2 plane crashes and 1 helicopter crash. The plane crash they survived, and the helicopter crash they survived. And God blessed, these 2 victims survived. But when I called Scott and I called the mayor, the first question was, can we do anything to help? I was very hesitant because it was at such great risk. But they came out, they followed directions, they did a great job, and I'd like to honor you guys with these certificates, city citation, fire department citation, civilian citation. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Medals are on the way. Medals are on the way.
We're going to take a 5-minute recess. All right, we're back in session. Board committee vacancies. We have 2 vacancies on the Planning Commission, 2 vacancies on the Library Board of Trustees. Now we will go to other reports. And we have a request for the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, authorizing the city to enter in a site host agreement with EVCS for EV charging stations to be located at the Ocean Shores Library. And this will be presented by City Administrator Scott Anderson.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And this is Lori McKay, who's going to be able to answer all of Council's technical questions on this, so I'll introduce her. So this is an agreement that came back in 2023. We've been working on it for a few years. It is a completely free service to the city. It's a grant. There's a modest revenue sharing proposal, and we hope it will both draw people more to our public library. At the time we began this grant process, we had not completed the Tesla charging centers at all. And there was still a wide demand for more electric charging vehicles. People were having to go either to Oyhut or to the convention center. Not the convention center, I'm sorry. They would have to go to the casino to charge their vehicles. These charging stations are slightly different than the charging stations that Tesla has here. They're more adaptable, but I will turn this over to Lori McKay to talk about the agreement.
Thank you for the introduction, City Administrator Anderson. Good evening, Mayor Elduin and council members. Thanks for considering the proposed site host agreement between the city and EVCS for the installation, operation, maintenance of 3 publicly accessible DC fast chargers to be located at the Ocean Shores Public Library. Thanks also for this opportunity to speak with you tonight and respond to any questions that council may have. For the record, my name is Lori McKay. I'm a principal with Cyan Strategies. It's a small consulting firm located in Seattle that works with businesses and local governments on advancing their goals for reducing carbon emissions. I'm also tonight as a contractor representing the Clean and Prosperous Institute, the lead applicant for the Department of Commerce funding that would pay for and install the charging equipment at the library. I'm joined tonight by Charlie Botsford on Zoom. Charlie is the Director of Communications for EVCS and an EV charging subject matter expert in his own right. EVCS is the service provider with whom the city is considering entering into a site host agreement proposed, found on e-page 105 of your packet. We are pleased to have had the opportunity to work with the city administrator, with the library director and the city attorney and other senior leadership and staff on the proposed agreement, and we encourage the council to approve the agreement. I'm not quite sure. I could go into a little bit of detail unless council just wants to pepper me with questions.
Yeah, I think we should turn it over to
We have public comment first. Yes, go ahead, Jan.
Thank you, Council Mayor. Jan Hyatt.
Got to get the clock rolling.
I am good, thank you. My questions would be, it says there is no cost to the city and it's on a contractual basis, I believe. Is that a contract that goes for 5 years, 2 years? If it's renewed, has to be renewed, will there be a charge then? Will there be any possibility of future costs? Thank you.
All right, thanks. Any other public comment? All right, council. Any questions? Yes, Rich.
One that maybe the mayor's already asked. We had some theatrics with the Tesla charger and the aluminum wiring requirement. Do we have those issues here?
I haven't looked at the drawings. I don't know what they plan on using.
So do you know if you have to use, we had to do a variance for the other charging station. Just wondering if your wiring is going to be traditional wiring or if you also need the aluminum.
That is a stumper. Until we're able to do a site assessment and evaluation, I can't respond to that. I'm looking to Charlie. Did you hear the question?
It was faint, but it sounded like something about a variance for, so we do full permitting with planning departments in the state of Washington. Often that goes through L&I, Labor and Industries, through the state. But I can't imagine a variance requirement. We haven't run into that before. What was the reason for the variance with Tesla?
Well, we have a code here in our city that all wire has to be copper. And so it's a copper feeder to the equipment. Tesla did not use copper wire, so there was a variance made because they're going to maintain it. And so that variance was voted on by the council. So when you guys get your drawings and such together, you want to take a look at that because you want to use copper wire to feed that equipment.
Yes, we've traditionally used copper. We've seen an uptick in vandalism, so I know some of the service providers, and it sounds like Tesla is moving to aluminum. I don't anticipate that EVCS would do that.
All right. Any other questions for the council? We're going to have council action.
I would like to make a motion to approve the site host agreement between the City of Ocean Shores and EVCS for EV charging stations at the public library.
Second.
All right, we have a second. Any other comments or questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori, and thank you, Keitha.
All right, next we have a report on the Ocean Shores Kennel, and that's presented by Ocean Shores Kennel volunteer Jane Shattuck.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, citizens of Ocean Shores. I want to give you the November kennel operations and volunteer contributions report. First off, I want to start with volunteer contributions. In November, our dedicated volunteers contributed a record 203 hours to cover 3 daily shifts, 7 days a week, and that included the holiday. Beyond their time, volunteers have generously donated essential items, including toys, treats, collars, harnesses, blankets, and even paid for veterinary care. One volunteer went above and beyond by fostering 2 of our adoptable dogs throughout October and November while continuing to dedicate hours at the kennel. Their unwavering commitment ensures the well-being of the animals and supports the smooth operations of the kennel. Kennel activity. During November, a total of 9 dogs were brought to the kennel by officers. 3 dogs were reunited with their owners within 6 hours. 3 dogs were held for the 72-hour impoundment period and then made available for adoption. Of those 3 dogs, 2 dogs have already found their forever homes. 2 dogs were dangerous cases requiring handling by officers, as volunteers are not allowed to handle dangerous dogs. The success of adoptions is largely due to the efforts of volunteers who invest time in socializing and training the dogs, distributing adoption flyers, and spreading the word throughout social media and contacts throughout the community. These actions significantly improve the chances of finding loving homes for the animals. I want to give some acknowledgments to city staff. For our appreciation goes to the city staff for their posting adoption announcements and designing informative and eye-catching flyers. To OSPD, special thanks to the officers who bring in the dogs, maintain clear communication with the volunteers, and provide care for the aggressive dogs during their stay. I also want to thank our local establishments in Ocean Shores that have shown tremendous support by allowing us to display adoption flyers in their windows, which greatly increased visibility for the animals in need of adoption. The community partnership is invaluable in helping to connect dogs with potential adopters. And I also want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our incredible community for their generous donations of essential items to meet the needs of the dogs and support the operations of the kennel. In conclusion, The collective effort highlights the power of collaboration, ensuring the well-being of the animals in our community. Thank you all for your ongoing support of the kennel operations and the incredible volunteers who make it possible. Thank you. Any questions?
All right, thank you. Next up, we have public comment. Public communication to council is intended for communication to the city council regarding general council business or policy not on tonight's agenda. Address comments and questions to the city council body, not to an individual member or city staff. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. We request that the comments be nice and respectful. This is not a question and answer time, and the council cannot engage in conversation with the public. No person may use the public comment for the purpose of campaign or advertisement. The city council will begin the time once the citizen has started their public comment. At 2 minutes, you will see a green light followed by a yellow light indicating 30 seconds remain in the public comment period. The red light will notify the reader that the public comment time has ended. Order of public comments will be first individuals attending in person. Second will be individuals attending remotely. The general public comment, whether in person or remotely, will continue in the usual position on the agenda. Scott, who do we have up?
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Council. We have two citizens speaking tonight. The first, Dave Bunch, on the budget.
I'll try to speed read here. Members of the Ocean Shore City Council, I'm here today to propose a careful and thoughtful reconsideration of the city's ownership and financial support of KOSW, our local radio station. This is not a suggestion made lightly, but one grounded in fiscal responsibility, fairness, and transparency, principles that guide all good governance. According to the city budget, KOSW cost taxpayers $143,283 as outlined on page 47 of the budget, and about $50,000 a year. For a station that largely operates under the auspices of a 501c3 organization, I believe it's time for the city to determine whether continuing this relationship is the best interest of the public. Several years ago, while serving on the KOSW board, I supported giving the station and nonprofit North Beach Independent Media a chance to become self-sufficient. I urged them to adopt a transparent practices, particularly regarding financial operations. And a motion was passed during my tenure requiring a board member to attend all NBIM meetings as an observer. This recommendation and motion was designed to foster cooperation and transparency, mirroring the successful partnership that exists between our public library and its associated 501c3. Unfortunately, to my knowledge, this motion was never honored. NBIM remains closed to both board members and the public, which limits accountability. Furthermore, there has been no clear, detailed accounting of the thousands of dollars raised through advertising, events, and LTAC money. This raises questions, particularly with the same individuals who direct NBIM are responsible for setting the station's advertising rates, a process that could be perceived as a conflict of interest. The lack of oversight or public scrutiny only compounds these concerns. The situation proposes several challenges. Fiscal responsibility. The city is spending a significant amount annually to subsidize an entity that appears capable of raising funds independently. These funds could be reallocated to services and infrastructure that directly benefit the public and to advertisers. To the public, sorry. Transparency. Ocean Shore's taxpayers and advertisers deserve clarity about how their money is spent and the assurance that the public resources are managed equitably. NBIM's lack of transparency undermines public trust. Fairness. Many nonprofits in our city operate with transparency and accountability, reporting their activities to stakeholders and adhering to open governance. By contrast, NBIM does not adhere to these standards, which places other organizations at a disadvantage and sets poor precedents. In light of these concerns, I propose the city divest itself of KOSW and allow NBIM or another suitable entity to take full ownership and control of the station. This would encourage
That's time.
self-sufficiency, eliminate, oh, yeah, you're right. Man, I read slow. Anyway, I'll just, I'll give the thanks for the clerk for the record.
Jan Hyatt, thank you all.
Mayor, council, staff, I really do want to thank you all. The city's put on several events, the fire department, the police have been out helping, the convention center, we've had the Halloween party here, we've had a turkey bingo, the Christmas tree lighting was well attended, and the hot chocolate was delicious. I don't know if we got to thank everyone on that, but it was very good. The cookies, the singing, the friendship, all gathering together. It was very nice. And as the mayor said, we need to get out and check with our neighbors and say hello to them and kind of make sure that everyone really is doing okay around here. Also, we've had several volunteer groups, and they need a thank you also. I don't know if they want it, but they deserve it. The front entry decorations, the Christmas tree lights that have been put up, all of the bulbs, the cleanups of the road, the people taking the bags out and cleaning up all the debris. The city, we're really doing good here in Ocean Shores, and hopefully everyone is getting a big thank you. It's well-deserved. City, council, staff, convention center, police, all of the people here that are employed by the city. It was such an improvement, and we want to thank you, and I'm sure there are other people that would like to thank all of you. So thank you, and God bless you.
All right, that concludes our public comment period. So next up, we have council liaison reports and council committee reports. And Richard, do you want to start us?
Thank you. I actually have nothing to report, and because there's not a quorum, the Parks Board meeting scheduled for tomorrow has already been canceled. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Rich?
I also have had no meetings. Sorry.
All right, Allison?
I attended agenda setting.
Lisa?
Again, no meetings. This is a quiet time of the year, but I also signed warrants and attended agenda setting.
Lisa Griebel?
Just a reminder that the library board meets tomorrow, Wednesday, at 3 p.m.
All right, thanks. Tom?
I really have nothing to say today.
All right, Denise?
No meetings, but I did sign warrants the past 2 weeks.
All right, thanks. I wanted to let everybody know that our finance team has begun the paperwork required to pay off our street bond. And that bond originated in 2011, and that lid was set to be paid off in 2029, and we will be paying that off here shortly. So we've also are happy to say that we have a road maintenance plan that was put together by Kimley Horn, and that the administrator will talk about at another meeting, or actually not another meeting, but with our transportation fund that's up next. So that's a good thing where we no longer have that lid here to pay off. So now, Transportation Benefit District, we got a special meeting for that, and we will recess this meeting of the City Council at 6:43 and convene into a special meeting of the Transportation District, and this will be presented by City Administrator Scott Anderson.
All right. Once again, council, citizens, thank you so much. This is an annual report that we have to give to the public. It's required by RCW 36-73-160. And it's basically an overview of how we have spent monies and what monies that we have for the Transportation Benefit District. You will see that we have not spent a great deal of money, and there is a reason for that. We spent about $5,820, and that is on this report that I have here, which you have access to as the public. And this is the Kimley Horn report that the mayor just mentioned. This is our street department master plan when they came out here and road mapped all of our streets, took visual images of them, and then identified areas that are critical priorities that we need to work on. We received this copy back in late October of this year, and next year we will take some of this money. We have $1.6 for $1,600,000, we'll call it, and we will apply that money to a process where we look at the roads that we need to fix, the things that we need to implement, and begin doing that. I will say, though, the one thing that people will want us to see that they probably won't is work on Ocean Shores Boulevard. And the reason for that is we are still anticipating that the jetty will be started this coming year of 2025. And we obviously know that's going to do a great deal of damage to our roads. But we haven't worked, so that part will probably not be touched within the next 2 years period, because that's about what they're anticipating, about 18 to 20 months to work on fix the jetty. But then after that, or prior to that, we will work through the rest of this document, identify key areas, and we can use our transportation benefit district monies in order to fix our roads.
That's all we have. All right, we will close this special meeting of the Transportation Benefit District and reconvene the regular City Council meeting at 6:45.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so approved. I know the electronics on these things. All right, we have old business. We have an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, adopting the 2025-2026 budget, and that will be presented by our city clerk, Sarah D. Logan.
Good evening, council. So at our last council meeting, the council decided what they would like to see and what they would prefer not to see on the budget that is in front of you today. The other part that we added to this is similar to the breakdown of requests we provided. Once we put all of those into the budget, the bars code that they were going to and the dollar amount. You'll see some things also, and this was available to the public, that were not on the request form, but they were things that had happened in this very short period of time between September and right now in December that you've approved. So we put the RFA back in there. The council approved at the very last meeting the emergency management interlocal agreement, which is $37,000 annually. So those things were also included in that breakdown of the requests, just to kind of streamline where we're at. So at this point, we believe in finance, we have put everything into the budget that has been requested at this time. Again, we've stated numerous times that 2025 is going to be a hard year of working because, in my opinion, we have a lot of work to do on the budget from the last several years of cleaning it up. We have some funds that we absolutely don't use, which add to the magnitude of revenue and expense codes that you get every month that can be cleaned up. So it'll all just be a part of the process. And now that we kind of have new eyes, new council, assistant treasurer that's doing phenomenal, and myself, we will get it cleaned up and make it even better.
All right, thanks, Sarah. Public comment. Do we have any public comment out here? Okay, we have online.
One online public comment, Don Williams. Do you hear me, Don?
Okay, now, can you hear me?
I hear you perfectly. Go ahead, Don.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity. I'm looking at the general fund section. It's on page 43 of the agenda, which is the budget, page 21. And the first comment I want to make is that it shows a beginning general fund balance on 2025 of 4.175 million. But since the current year has not been closed out yet, my question is, how confident are you that that number 4.175 will actually be the beginning balance for this budget? And will it be changed when this current year is closed out to some other number? And also, with regard to the general fund, looking at, again at the next page, page 44, it shows an ending balance for the year 2025 is shown as 2.971 million. You'll see that right there on the 2025 column. But then going back to the previous page, the beginning balance for year 2026 is shown as 4.15 million. That's a difference of 1.18 million. You really can't have, those numbers have to be identical. You can't invent $1 million in revenue between the years. So something is a problem with that table. And the same problem, by the way, exists between the ending balance projected for 2024 and the beginning budget number for 2025. Those numbers have to be the same in a budget. So I just want to ask about, comment on that one. And now looking at also on page 43, the text talks about the cost allocations, and there's nothing shown there about the cost allocations, even though they're the second largest revenue source for the general fund. There's really no detail provided, but it does say that the cost allocations increased between the current biennium and the next biennium, 25-26, by 29%. And that seems like a very, very large increase in cost allocations, and somebody needs to explain why we're going up by almost 30% in the cost allocations. That's money that's taken out of the enterprise accounts generally and moved over to the general fund. And it just seems to be an awfully high number. I would request that to be explained. Now, moving to the funding sources, which is page 74 to 86 of the agenda, there's a missing column. There's no column there for the estimate for year 2024. That's this year. It really needs to have an estimate there for this year. I don't know why that's not there, but normally in a budget you would see that column that's there for the current year, and it's missing. It goes right from 2023 to the budgeted for 2025. So there's a
That's
problem
time,
there.
Mr. Williams.
Right. Do we have any other public comment? No? All right. Council, questions? Yes, Richard.
So first, I want to say to Sarah and the finance department, what a great job in kind of pushing ClearGov into something that we can use. And I agree with you. I've been looking at those documents for several days since Thursday, since this agenda document came out, trying to clearly understand it, and I'm struggling. So I agree there's some cleaning up to do. But as I look at, I've also done some research on the ambulance, and we will perhaps approve $250,000 to re-chassis an ambulance. And I'd like the city council to consider just buying a new ambulance. The difference is about $100,000, maybe $130,000. We get an ambulance with a 10-year warranty, and we avoid the compatibility issues that are traditional every time we have re-chassised a vehicle. And so for me, it's like when a car starts nickel and diming me to death, it's time to get a new car. And why buy a nickel and dime machine when we can just invest another $130,000 and buy another new ambulance? And it appears that we have the money available to do that. So I would like the council to consider doing that. Otherwise, I think that the budget as presented looks pretty darn good.
Right. Any other questions, comments? Yes, Lisa?
So this opportunity, so Mr. Williams brought up a question about the ending fund balance for 24 and 25. Can I ask the city clerk to elaborate a little bit on
that? So we had to so ClearGov was unique, as you know, and we had to manually enter everything based on our Excel spreadsheets and the forecasting that we did. We came up with the beginning balances. We need, and unfortunately, I am sure Mr. Williams won't like this answer. As you know, 2024, because this wasn't meant for a biennium budget, is strictly half of our 2023-2024 budget, or we would have actually had to go and put all of that in manually multiple times since we've gone through multiple months now. So all of that is unfortunately skewing that bottom number. I am very confident, I am very, very confident in the beginning balance for 2025. I would say that I believe our actuals will probably come out much higher than that, but to be safe, we would like to stay at this number. And then, of course, we will work on this. Obviously, gets updated once those actuals come in, and so then we'll really see. And again, we're still working with ClearGov just to get those manual parts done. So the bottom number is, we've calculated the top number. The expense minus revenue is what they've provided in here without us doing additional manual calculations.
Thank you very much. I just appreciate that explanation. I know that we all ask questions and sometimes know that the public isn't privy to. So thank you for that explanation.
Right. We have any other questions? You got another one, Richard? Go ahead.
So I don't hear any council response to my proposition that we buy a whole new ambulance. I'd like to make a motion that we modify this budget as presented to appropriate $400,000 and purchase a new ambulance rather than re-chassis the old ambulance.
Okay, there's a motion.
I'll second it, so we can move to
All right, we have a
discussion.
second. All right. Comments? Yes, Lisa
So
Scott.
I disagree at this point right now. It's in the 9th hour, but I would like to address it when we bring it up next year. We have no calculations to go other than you saying it's about $100,000. I would like to actually physically see something and weigh the new chassis versus the new ambulance. Not saying no, but I'd like to see a little bit more before I would vote on that.
I believe Rich was next. He had his hand up.
I also am not a no, but I'd like to have time to sit down with the leadership of the fire department and talk about it. I've spoken to other chiefs that have done new chassis. They haven't had wiring issues as long as they keep make or make. I hear what you're saying. Sometimes we don't want to put a extremely old box on a brand new chassis, but we haven't even spoken of it. We haven't had the fire department in the middle of it, and we have an ability to modify this budget next year if we do make that decision.
Yes, Richard.
So I appreciate what both Councilmember Hartman and Scott have said, and the reason I made this motion is I don't want us to leap off and order a re-chassis before we discuss buying the new ambulance. And so if we're going to hold off on making that order and have this discussion early in 25, and it does make sense to know what the actual final 2024 ending numbers are. So if I'm sure, and I'm asking Sarah, that we're not going to order that chassis, re-chassis, until sometime later in 25, I'm asking.
It's completely over the threshold, even if it's within the budget, for us to order it without the council's approval for the re-chassis as it is. So this will come back to council either way. And it might be at that time, if mayor and fire chief agree, that a budget modification is proposed for a new ambulance at that time. But it gives everybody the ability to have those conversations.
So I thank all three of you, and I withdraw my motion.
Right. Denise, did you want to comment?
I was pretty much going to say the same thing as Rich. I would like to see an analysis by the fire department and what they consider the advantages and disadvantages of both before we make a decision on it.
All right, thanks. Motion has been removed. Yes, Richard?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, adopting the 25-26 budget.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, Lisa has a comment.
Lisa, I didn't see you. Scott was blocking you.
So I had a couple of questions, and Richard jumped right to the motion, but that's okay. I'll ask my questions now. So I just need Sarah. First of all, thank you so much, the team that put together this budget. And it is still difficult for me to work with just, I think it was 75 pages when I was used to like 230 to 250 page document. So I've been adjusting to, for me, the lack of specifics that was in the giant document versus the 75-page document. But Sarah, if you could just clarify again what your projected ending fund balance is versus what our council has agreed to what they wanted to maintain as the ending fund balance. So what you're projecting, and then what our financial guidelines that we haven't codified yet, but what our financial guidelines we're suggesting the ending fund balance be.
So again, that would be the ending fund balance of 2024. 2024 is directly split in half. So it's over compensating, and we are set to end at 2.545, which you have I don't know the word. You have not put that into a policy, but that's kind of the agreement that has been made. So it matches that. I do anticipate that will be over more than the 2.5, but that's where we plan to end with these allocations that have been made in your agenda packet.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
All right. So a motion been made. So we'll go back to voting. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Next, we've got new council business, and there's a request of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, awarding the Fairwood Valve Replacement Project to Brumfield Construction, and that will be presented by our project manager, Becky Leach.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. This project will replace an existing fire hydrant assembly that is connected to a 16-inch valve at a T. In August, the water department discovered that there was a large leak where the valve bonnet had cracked. The water department shut down that section of the water main, and it's been shut down ever since. That main is our primary feed for the fire flows to the residents south of Marine View Drive and east of Ocean Shores Boulevard Southwest. The job is bigger than what our Public Works Water Department crew can handle. It requires dewatering, trenching, shoring, just to a degree that the city doesn't have the staffing or capability to complete. The project will be funded by the Water Capital Improvement Fund in the amount of $50,000, $50,776.23. That was Brumfield's bid. The second bid that came in was quite a bit higher at $87,280. So a pretty big spread in the cost there. It is a project that's fairly emergent to get done. So I'm really hoping for council approval on this one so that we can get Brumfield scheduled and going on it so that we've got some heavier water flows if the fire department needs.
All right. Thanks, Becky. Any public comment? All right, council. Any comments? Yes, Lisa Scott.
I would like to make a motion to approve the awarding of the Fairwood Valve Replacement Project to Brumfield Construction.
Second.
All right, we have a second. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Lisa Griebel.
And my question, thank you, Becky, for your presentation. My question is, why do you think there was such a big difference between the amounts in the two bids?
They were both, one was, Roglan's was the other contractor, and it could just be that they're busy and don't need the work right now. Sometimes you'll get a higher bid from somebody because they're busy. Sometimes you'll get a lower bid from somebody just because they want to do work and start working with the city. It could just be that Brumfield's schedule is more open than Roglan's, but they all had the same documentation and paperwork, and both had been out to the site to see what the work that needed to get done as well, so there won't be any surprises. That's always a big piece.
Thank you.
All right, we have a second. Any other comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have a request of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, approving the cancellation of the Christmas Eve regular city council meeting, and that's presented by me. And we've typically always canceled the second meeting in December, and so that's why it's brought forward. I don't know if anybody wants to be here on Christmas Eve, but anyway, that's about all I have to say. This is something we do every year. We got public comment. You guys don't want to be here either? All right. Yes, Allison.
So I would like to make a motion to approve a request of the City Council of the City of Ocean Shores, Washington, approving the cancellation of the December 24th regular City Council meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Now we're moving on to a sewer rate discussion. That's going to be led by the Finance Committee. And I don't know who wants to go first. All right, Rich got the short straw.
There's one truth that we know. As we worked on our budget for 25-26, we saw sewer fund 430 all the way down to $31,000. And we made a decision to fund a building project out of water so that that fund would stay at $131,000. Another truth is we have many projects that are on the horizon that Public Works knows about that haven't come to us yet. And let's just say there's a couple commas in the amount of work that needs to be done over the next few years. It's not going to be easy for us to do that with that particular fund in the condition it's in. That being said, I need Sarah, I could use some help. Sorry to put this on you really quick, but
No, I was all done.
no.
Yeah.
What I mean is I didn't talk to you about this. I've just been looking at all the numbers, and I've got some questions because we have the 430 fund that is obviously in danger. But we also, and the words are, for me, even confusing. 430 on our monthly cash activity page says Sewer Capital Improvement Fund. But then there's a 330, Sewer Capital Replacement Fund. And then as we go into our budget, 430 on here is called Sewer Capital Replacement Fund, which is actually 330's number. So they're kind of back, they're a little typo. My question is, we know that on our utility bill, we know that we pay $21.90 a month, and we have since 1993. But when the city receives that $21.90 from everyone, what I'm confused at this point is how does that $21.90 get split up between operations and then a replacement and then a improvement fund? Do you know any of that at this point? Because I'm dropping it.
I do. I'm not going to be able to give you off the top of my head specific dollars and cents that come from that 2190, but it is quite the system. There is the sewer fund, and then what decides a lot of where those monies go from that 2190 is the cost allocation. And years ago, they did a very, very good job at doing that cost allocation so that it wasn't overfunding something and underfunding something. So back to what Mr. Williams said, like the cost allocation in itself is a huge piece that is going to be looked at in 2025. I do not necessarily agree 110% with the current cost allocation. And so we are actually going to have Tara who, do a new one in January or when she gets back from some amazing trip. And but based on that cost allocation, navigates where a lot of those monies go. They are transferred. Some go to the general fund, some go to their improvement fund. We are the ones that decide what goes to the replacement fund. So there's a lot of variables that fund those separately. But that cost allocation is a big piece that decides where it goes.
So that being said, I can tell that sewer Fund 330 is somewhat stable. It's in the 800,000 range. I'm not saying that's a good number or a bad number, but it's been stable over the years. The Fund 430 is critical shape, absolutely critical. And then sewer operations 435, it's been stable. So, council, with all of the work that your finance committee has put into this, I appreciate that there's going to be an allocation that is going to be looked at next year, sooner than later. But no matter what happens, we are not bringing in enough money to fund the 430 fund at this point. And there are major projects in the future, and we can't be like the last 2 decades of councils and ignore this any longer. I realize that we've funded some studies. I also realize how long it takes to do anything in the city. So those studies will be out probably in 25 at some point. And no matter what the studies say, it's probably going to hurt, and we're going to be conservative, and we're probably not going to fund them properly. And I'm just saying that because I've watched it happen for decades. But one thing that we can do in January with consensus here is put a CPI component on that sewer fund that right now is charged $21.90 a month. That hasn't been touched since 1993. So I'm begging you to do our job and address this as soon as possible in 25, because it's our job to keep that fund alive, to finance the things that Public Works needs to do to protect us and our citizens. And at some point later in 25, there'll be a study done, and it's going to say, but it will also include, if you approve it, a CPI multiplier, and it will say what we need to do everything perfectly, but we shouldn't just procrastinate again. It's easy to procrastinate, but I'm begging you, don't be like the rest of the councils. And then we can give the executive branch, the mayor and Scott, the tools they need to do their job. I trust them to make sure the things that we're doing are fiscally correct, but we have to do our job first. So there's my ask.
Yes, Lisa.
So that was the other thing, is I know we have some projects that, need to be done, especially in the sewer department. My concern too is, besides that, what happens if we have an emergency? I don't even feel comfortable that we have enough in the fund to even pay to have a match for a grant at this point for something an emergency break. And that's my other concern at this point. And I know it's never fun talking about rate increases, and we know we probably will be looking at rate increases after those studies are done. But having a CPI at least component now will lessen the burden, and we could start bringing in some revenue now to help offset some of that. It is a concern.
Yes, Richard.
So I appreciate everything that Councilmember Hartman said and absolutely agree. One of the most important things to living in a city is that the toilets flush. I think it's important that we allow the toilets to continue flushing. One of my questions is, Mr. Hartman, Councilmember Hartman, do you have a suggestion on a CPI, or we just hold that off until January and discuss the ins and outs of that in January? I'm asking.
I would suggest a CPI component exactly like we have on water, which would be a 3% cap year over year.
And has Sarah, are you,
But again, sorry, if CPI is below 3, it would be 1.8. You know, it depends on what the CPI is, but never to be more than 3 if we decide to go with what you already have done for water.
so has anybody done a calculation on a $350,000 house? What would a 3%,
It's $21.90 a month right now, so it would be
3% of that?
correct.
Okay, that's a
At,
small
at
money.
worst.
Yeah,
If
that's
I
a
think
small
CPI was 2.8. I'm not sure what it was, but it wasn't large this last time.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Denise.
Yeah, Rich, I understand that the fund is critical. I mean, obviously, that's why we're looking at doing a study to find out what we really need in order to fund our sewers properly. So in looking at a CPI, what is your goal for getting that fund out of critical? I mean, how much do you feel that we need in order to get it out of the critical state?
Based on projects, I'm going to say I'll be nice and say well over $1 million worth of projects on the books that need to come forward. We're going to have to take small bites, but to get this CPI component on as soon as possible would help a small amount, but it would also then give the mathematics for the company doing our study to use that in their calculations. Otherwise, they're going to just be giving us a study based on just a rate rather than a rate that has a CPI component to it. So that's why I'm a broken record here talking about get the CPI done and down. It will change people's water rates possibly by sewer rates possibly by 2.8% coming up in 25 if that's how it worked out. And that would give us a little teeny step towards trying to save this massive amount of money we need to, because nobody likes an LID. And in the past, this town has done LIDs because they never did this type of thing correctly.
Any other comments? Tom?
Okay, everybody knows I'm new at this. So there have been studies before, correct? What's the average time frame these studies take? That long?
I will say that the mayor has been waiting on a water study for a year.
That wasn't for rates, though.
Not for rates, but he's been trying hard.
That's a long time. But at the same time, it is one of those things that if it comes back and says we need to do higher than what we already do, or what we decide now, how's that going to make us look? That's the hard part. Do we have a study done and then do a rate increase and then have a study done and then come back and say, our citizens say, charge them too much? So.
It shouldn't matter how we look. I mean, we have a responsibility to be fiscally responsible to the city and take care of our citizens. And nobody likes rate increases. In fact, we all pay them here. But in my opinion, this would buy down that actual cost from the study. So if we did implement a CPI, that would be looked at during that whole study process. And if we have that component, what it will probably do is buy down what that cost should be. Again, it's been since 1993. And I get it. People ask, well, why can't you do it all at the same time? And sure, yes, we can. But if we can implement something now to help build that fund from its critical status today or in 25, let's do it. I mean, it's a small step approach. It's the same approach we took for the ambulance rate, right? We stair-stepped that. We didn't go with the high. We went with a more conservative approach. But this at least will help get us there. And it instead of looking at increasing your rates every year, the CPI can help offset that as well. Once we get the rate to a place it should be, that CPI should keep it current where we're not facing something with a major rate increase. And I don't know that's where we're going to be, but I have a good guess that it is going to be that way.
Rich, question. What'd you say was in there? How much money? Rich. 130?
131,000 is where it's
131,000.
projected to be after this year's budget with the projects that we put in there. And by the way, if 2.8% was the inflation rate, I believe it was, that would be a 61-cent-ish a month increase.
Yes, Richard?
So my question, if we approved a CPI increase, if we approved a CPI in January, when would I get my new bill? When would the rate actually take effect? Or would we be waiting for the rate study and it would all happen at the same time? Am I framing that's what makes sense?
You're wanting to know that if we went ahead and in January brought this back and approved a CPI increase on the sewer utility, when would it impact your bill?
My bill.
And Sarah, do you know when that?
Well, we have two different billing cycles, first and foremost. So wondering your bill, I don't know. But it would go into the next reasonable billing cycle that was after that approval, along with the publishing of the ordinance, because just because you guys approve something here doesn't mean it goes into effect tonight. There's publishing days and so on and so forth. So based on those variables, within a month or so.
And that's the answer I was looking for. So we passed in January. It's reasonable to expect a 61-cent increase in February, March, April, something like that. And that's what I was asking for. Thank you.
Any other? Yeah, Rich.
So I guess what I'm asking tonight of council with some kind of consensus, whether it's a thumbs up, if we are able to instruct staff that we would like an ordinance to come back in January that would add a CPI component to the sewer bill that would be capped at 3% max per year, that would then take place as soon as possible.
You're asking for a thumbs up? Okay, a thumbs up. All right, we got a majority.
So we would ask for an ordinance to come back in January that would tie a CPI into the sewer and vote on it then. Thank you.
All right, so future agenda, we're moving on to future agenda items. I don't know why I said that, but anyway, it's not been on there before. Okay, so January 2nd at 9 a.m. will be the next agenda setting, and I don't know who's going to be on that yet, so we'll have to contact you. Lisa will be here. I'll be here, but anyway, so we'll move on to good of the order. And Denise, would you like to start?
I'll start. I wanted to echo what Jan said. I mean, she gave a lot of acknowledgments to what's been happening in the city. So just to also agree with what she said. Lots of fun events, lots of volunteering. The city looks great. I also wanted to thank the fire department again. As many of you know, plane crashes hit home for me. So to see the valor and the help of saving lives is truly remarkable. I also wanted to call out some of the statistics. Many of you know I volunteer with the food bank, and November has just been absolutely incredible there. During November, we served 1,122 households for 2,620 household members. At Thanksgiving, we distributed to 396 households, including 28 delivered by Ocean Shores Cares. So as we celebrate the holidays, I just want us to remember those people who struggle, those people who are helped by their neighbors. Ocean Shores Food Bank is totally volunteer. And also a reminder that we do have a Christmas distribution on December 19th, and it is not a distribution of free food for anyone who needs it, but it is truly for those people in need who would not be celebrating a Christmas or holiday dinner without.
All right, thanks. Tom?
And happy holidays.
For all your staff and their work on the plane crash and stuff, they deserve a lot more than they can get on that part. I've witnessed some pretty serious plane crashes that people never walk away at all. So, give them thank you again for me for what they do. So, personal. Okay.
Right, Lisa Griebel.
Thank you, Mayor. Just Happy New Year before we see everybody here again, and a happy holiday season. And just a reminder that not all of our communities celebrate specific holidays. So just a reminder that we all celebrate differently and that not everyone celebrates specific holidays here. But if you are thinking about our community, think about our area youth. They typically have 2 weeks off during this holiday season. That's a long time for our area youth to not be connected to a school and regular adults and access to breakfast and lunch. So if you're looking at a way to donate your time or resources, reach out to your area school and see if there are any families in need of some support over those long winter breaks.
All right, Lisa Scott.
Thank you, and thank you, Denise, for the reminder. We don't always remember, and I appreciate that. And thank you to the city staff for everything. It's been a good year. And thank you to the community for all you do to make Ocean Shores what it is, and happy holidays.
Allison.
Ditto what everyone else has said, and everybody have a great holiday.
All right, thanks. Rich.
I also want to say thank you to the department heads and to executive branch for all they've done to help move our city forward this year. There's been a lot completed, and it's exciting to see. Thank you, finance, for working through the budget. It is never easy, and I'm excited that going forward you're going to be a master at it. You know it way too well now, so it's exciting. I want to thank you for the trust that the citizens and the other counselors have put into me. This is another year of learning, and I've learned a lot, and I'm excited for the jobs we've all done, and I'm excited for what we're going to do to help this town move forward for the next 50 years. So thank you for having me.
Richard.
So again, everybody's already said most everything, and a special thanks to the fire department and the plane crash thing, and just all of the work that the fire department does. And the city staff, and especially the finance department, and all of the hard work that has gone into kind of shaping this new budget process. I look forward to seeing this process streamlined and easier to understand in our next budget cycle. And other than that, I hope everybody has a fabulous holiday, and I hope that everybody has a better year in 25 than they had in 24, whatever that looks like. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Rich. All right, I want to say one thing, that Sarah and her staff was handed a pile of garbage to get this budget put together, and they did an outstanding job, and I can't be more thankful for all the work that they did. And I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and can we get an adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
All right, we're adjourned.